I've just seen my first bee of the season. Welcome to Dog on the Plot and the last weekend in February, and it's a lovely day and it feels like spring is springing, but it's not. There's still a long way to go until the last frost date here in Leicestershire. But moving into March, things get hugely busy. There's loads of seed sowing to be doing. Things start getting busier out in the garden and on the allotment plot where we'll head a bit later. So I really want to sort of cross off the last of the winter jobs before we get into March. I just set up the shot for the next one and look, I've got daffodils blooming in the garden. I didn't even know that those had come out. Oh, that's so lovely. It is so lovely. But like I was saying, spring may feel like it's just around the corner, but actually we are still in late winter, and there's some winter jobs that I haven't done because I've been putting them off either because they feel boring or complicated, or we just haven't had the weather in which to do them. So I thought I'd bring you along with me because maybe you've got some of these jobs left over and you would like to get crossed off before we head into March. And the first one that I'm going to start with is apple trees. I've exchanged my cup of tea for my pruning shears and this book, which is the allotment month by month book, which I know is very popular with people, but it has a double page on how to prune your apple trees. And because you only do it once a year, and I say apple, but apple, pear, hard fruit trees, not things like this cherry, they're soft fruit and they get pruned in the late summer. Not at this time of year because that can introduce disease. But now is the last chance to really do apple and pear trees. But as I was saying, because you only do it once a year, I tend to forget exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing. So the book is really helpful. Now, all my apple trees are pretty young, so they don't need a lot of pruning. I don't know why I've been putting it off, but you do want to do it while they're dormant. Of course, the first thing is your 3Ds, dead, diseased, and damaged. And I'm looking, and I don't seem to have any of those. So that's a good start. The second thing to look for is any overlapping or overcrowded branches. No, don't seem to have any of those either. Nothing seems to be overlapping. So this is growing into a really nice shape actually. Okay, so remove any branches growing inwards and open up the middle of the tree. So that's growing inwards. And that one. Now I have to be careful as well because I'm thinking about the path. So that's growing outwards, but do I want it to go into my face in the path? Oh, there's a damaged one. Let's take that off. There we go, that's easy. I'm also going to take these ones off down here because I don't want branches growing out from down here. I want it all at the top. So they can come off. I don't think there's any further down. And I guess those ones as well. And then lastly, you can reduce by a third or up to a half each of the branches. I'm just going to clip some of them. I'm going to do this one that's near the path then. So I'll do that one by about half. So just by a bud as well. Okay. So this is to stimulate growth, and I'm cutting on an angle as well and just above a bud. That one, that one. Done that one. Just take off the top of that. Decisions, isn't it? I think I might just leave it at that. I think it's a young tree, so I don't want to go over the top. So that's one apple down. I've got one apple in the front garden and two at the plot, but don't worry, now we've done one together. I'll get on with those myself. But I'm standing next to the next thing that I need to tackle, and this is a little bit more complicated. So for this one, I need my notebook because I have written down in here all the different roses that I have in the garden. I've got shrub roses, which are my David Austin ones. I've got bush roses, climbers, and species. And they all need something slightly different. So I have my cheat sheet in my notebook. Here, this is a climber. This is Crazy in Love, which had some absolutely beautiful deep red roses on it last year. Now the rambler, I'm not going to do anything with because that you prune after flowering. So summer, late summer. In fact, this is a quite early flowering one, and it's a tiny, tiny yellow flower, which was slightly disappointing when it flowered. I had expected it to have a bigger flower, but it has grown absolutely enormous now. And what it will need is some tying in. I'm not going to do that just yet because these arches have been falling down. So to begin with, it's much like the apple. You've got to take out the dead and diseased stuff. There's a dead one down here. So that I'm going to take right down to the base. And then anything that's kind of crossing or rubbing, like this one, is right against this stalk here, stem. I'm also cutting on the angle again, so any water will slide right off. I'm going to tie in these main stems because climbers will not attach themselves. Can you see me? They won't attach themselves, so they do need to be tied in. So I've got my cousin's tights again, and I'm just going to make some little ties. So that's a really obvious one. Ow. So can you see that looks like a nice shape now? So the last thing to do is the actual prune. Now, if something has flowered, it goes back by 2/3, and then the rest, if they're new shoots like these ones, they just get tied in. I think these two here are too much. I'm going to take both of those out. Should I? I am. Ah, I did it. Oh, that's opened it up a lot. Too much? Ow. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, I think. So in this part of the garden is where my shrub roses, the tea roses and the floribunda are. So these are the two shrub, these are the David Austin. And the first thing that I'm going to do is sterilise my secateurs, because the last thing I want to do is spread disease between the roses. So let's start with last year's Silas Mana rose. Now it's probably going to be a bit hard to see this against the thicket that is this part of the garden, and I'm trying not to step on snowdrops and tulips coming up, but I can see a lot of dead material at the base of this plant, so that's the first thing I'm going to get out. Ouch! So now that the dead material's out, I'm looking for weak branches, things that are crossing again, so that one can come out. And that are pointing inwards rather than creating a bowl shape. So that one as well. I take that one out. Oh, that's so much better. That did the trick. And then everything that's left, I'm just taking back to a bud. But shrub roses grow on, or flower more on the previous year, older wood. So that's why you don't prune these back as hard as you would the tea rose and the floribunda bush roses. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. So the shrub roses have this arching habit, so and they should grow organically. That's how the look should be. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave that one. All right, spray again. Now, one of these is Samaritan and one of these is Wellbeing, and they're different. Wellbeing is a floribunda. Samaritan is the hybrid tea. I think this is Wellbeing. Now, the difference would be the floribunda you take down to about 30 centimetres from soil level, whereas the hybrid tea you go to 12 centimetres. But it's working out which is which. Right, I've erred on the side of caution, so I've left them all about 30 centimetres high, and we'll just see how they go this summer. They have not thrived in this bed, so they might need moving at some point anyway, but yeah, for now that's fine. Right, roses done. So this is definitely a job I've been putting off. These are my summer fruiting berries. We've got a summer fruiting raspberry, we've got a tayberry, we've got loganberry and then boysenberry. They're all delicious, and I really, really love having them. It's such a joy in the summer to walk along this stretch of the garden and just pick fresh berries. However, this happens. They are summer fruiting. They all act like a summer fruiting raspberry, which means they fruit on the previous year's canes. So things do get very congested. And when it comes to pruning, you need to be able to get in there and find which are the old canes that fruited last year to take out, and which are the new canes that you want to tie in ready for fruiting this year. So I think I'm just going to start from one end, work my way along and see how we get on. board down. So we've got the summer fruiting raspberry tied in. There's about 3 or 4, 5 canes of those. The tayberry, ever so thorny, only has 1 cane coming out of the ground, but it's split into 3 and I've trained them along the fence. I think that will be fine. I thought I had another one, but it turned out I could see some old fruits at the end of it. So it did fruit last year. So that was a 2 or 3 year old cane. So that's come out. The loganberry, now I thought this was absolutely massive. Turns out it's all the boysenberry. So actually this wasn't too bad. I took out some of the canes that looked a bit damaged. So I've got 4 good canes for the loganberry and I've trained those along. That's fine. But yeah, the boysenberry. So clearly this is absolutely wild. Now this only went in last year and I only got a few berries on it because the only canes that would have fruited were the ones already on the very small bush that I bought, and they were delicious. So I'm very happy that it's clearly enjoying where it is and it's doing well. And in fact, the same with the loganberry. There were a couple of bits that were rooted into the ground, and so I've taken out the roots. I've just put them in water, and we can grow this on the plot as well, which is excellent. Might see if Mark wants one. But this. Yeah, it's clearly not going to work. So like with the loganberry, I'm going to have to thin it to 4 or 5. Can I get away with 6 canes and spread them out along the fence here? And yeah, that'll be much more manageable then, because you've got to remember that during the summer, when you want to get the fruits, all those new shoots are coming up, and they're going to create a load of foliage that you're going to have to battle through. And in fact, I can see loads of shoots at the bottom of here, so many in fact, that I did go inside and just double check that you treat this like a summer fruiting raspberry, that it fruits on the previous year's canes. And it does, but the new growth is already showing at the bottom. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get in here really. And the first thing I'll do is take anything out that's really damaged and then go from there. But yeah, nearly there, nearly there. Well, what a difference that made. My goodness, it was quite a job though. I still got to clear away what I've cut off, but yeah, that's amazing. So I managed to keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the boysenberry canes, which might be, yeah, pushing it a little bit. But we'll see how it does this year, because as I say, I only went in last year, and so I don't really know how it behaves yet. But well, that's enough pruning for one day, isn't it? I'm about half an hour behind now getting ready for going out tonight. So I'm going to dash off and I'm going to catch you in the morning. Good morning, we're back in the greenhouse. Full spring is over and we're back to dull, wet, bit cold, very windy actually weather today. But the dog is walked. You walked, Dory. We've also been to the plot. We picked some Asian greens, didn't we, ready for lunch. And I did contemplate doing the thing that I was going to do at the plot with you today, but you know what, it just wouldn't be pleasant. It's not the day to be doing that. So we're back in the home garden, but I do have news about the plot actually. I'm going to save it so I can tell you while we're at the plot. So if you're not subscribed, click the button, and that'll be coming up in an episode shortly. Now, today, so what's left on my to-do list? We've done all the pruning. I hope all the pruning wasn't too boring. I always think pruning is not the greatest content, but I hope you found it useful. Now, the greenhouse, I think that's probably the first thing on the list. One of the things we may forget to do over the winter is actually water the greenhouse, and we've just had a really nice sunny day. So things I think do probably need a bit of a water in here. And I also need to do a bit of a rearrange because the sweet peas that I sowed with you last weekend are already shot up, and they need to come out here and have as much light as possible. And they don't necessarily now need the warmth. In fact, they don't need the warmth of the house anymore. So I'm going to do that, I think, first. The broad beans can come out because I've been hardening these off. So this wind will do them good, make them a little bit stronger. And then I've got these violas taking up just those few cells in this tray. And I want this tray, I'm going to need it for tomatoes soon. So I'm just going to stick these out in the garden somewhere. These pots seem as good a place as any to put them. These were ones that I've grown from seed, but yeah, well, the rest went out, but these ones didn't seem to get there. Might as well get a few flowers off of them before they go over. Now that remaining compost can be used to mulch one of the beds. Okay, that's freed up a little bit of space in here. So I've got some shelving there ready for when things need to come out of the house and into the greenhouse. I think I'm going to call that greenhouse done. I mean, clearly it's not, it needs cleaning. I know some of you are waiting for me to clean this greenhouse, get all this moss out, replace some of the glass. Yeah, eventually. It did have a light clean in the autumn when the tomatoes came out, but really it'll have its next clean before the tomatoes come back in. So at the moment I've got the whole salad bar in here, so I don't particularly want to be cleaning in the inside. And yeah, it's just pretty full at the moment. So eventually everything's going to come out. It's going to get a good clean, but that's not going to be today. So back to my list. Okay, so that's greenhouse. Right, I'm going to venture outside then, and yeah, three things. Three things to do outside. Now, I planted most of my garlic out before the new year, but I've been waiting really patiently, no, totally impatiently for it to come up. And last week I did notice that I've got the first shoots coming up in the home garden. So I'm very thankful that we are going to have garlic. I was getting slightly worried. But you can still plant garlic now, although we are getting to the point of last chance. And I went upstairs to look at my stored garlic, and I had still 3 lovely big bulbs of elephant garlic, and also this hardneck garlic, which were lovely big bulbs as well. So I thought, why not just stick a little bit more in and yeah, see what it's like to do a late sowing of garlic, because I haven't done that before. Now I do have daffodils coming up in this bed as well, and I think, yeah, a tulip there, but I'm just going to plant these around. This was the ochre bed, and now it's going to be a garlic bed, or at least part of it. Actually, I'm not going to make the mistake of doing them too deep this time, because I think maybe I was a little bit zealous on the depth with the ones in the back bed over there. There we go. So we've got a row of regular, oh, I've missed one. Where can that go? Right by the daffodil. A row of regular there, and then I'll put these 3. Oh, there's a daffodil. Oh, it's hard having to go around the daffodils. And these do need to be a little bit deeper. I still haven't seen any of the elephant garlic come up at the back, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That ball is awful, Dory. I think that needs to be thrown away. There we go. My safety net garlic. Now I feel a bit bad sad about this, but there is another pruning job that needs to be done, and it's underneath the acer, which is very awkward. Oh, and there's tulips there. Let's see if I can get in without crushing anything. What I'm trying to do is take out the foliage of the hellebores, and I'm pretty late doing this. So it's advisable on the oriental hellebores, I think that's what they're called. Are you helping, Dory? To take out, just squeezing my head between the branches here. Take out the old leaves. These are all the leaves from the previous year. So you cut them down at the base. That will let light in and you can see the flowers. But it also stops spreading disease, because you can see perhaps on some of these leaves, they've got the brown on there, and you don't want that spreading to the new leaves. Oh no, oh no. Oh, didn't mean to do that, Dory. Okay, that's all done. Yeah, you can see the flowers so much better now that the old foliage is gone. So that was a good job to get done as well. Right, I've got one more thing that I want to do. And this could be amazing, or it could be a complete disaster. Right, we're down the messy end of the garden and the rain is just starting. So let's see if we can get this done before we get soaked. Now, regular viewers might remember that I put 3 buckets of potatoes into this shed to store. These are first early potatoes, and they should still be labelled, although I can't see a label in there. Now, my hope is they've not been eaten by mice. Right, this is the only one I can see a label in, and that's Orla. So let's do the Orla first. Now, I've just finished the potatoes that I had in the house. So, oh my goodness! Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, those are the biggest potatoes I've ever grown. Oh no, they're squidgy. Are they all squidgy? No, that one's not squidgy. It's got a root on it. It started sprouting. Oh, but that is a good potato. Oh gosh, I didn't know it was going to be this exciting. Lovely. Or maybe that was, no, that wouldn't be the seed potato because it's huge. There's a little one. There might be some that we can save off of those though. That's a bit squidgy. Oh, maybe it's not quite as exciting. Oh, look at the size of that. That's not squidgy. That's good. So the context for this is that most of my first earlies were grown in the ground on the plot. In fact, they were grown on top of the ground with wood chip over them. And I had a few seed potatoes left, and I thought I'll do a comparison with buckets. Now, I think I only put 1 seed potato in each bucket, maybe 2, definitely not more than that, she says. Anyway. These also had the advantage of being on a hotbed. So I constructed a hotbed just here next to the shed. So these had warmth to begin with. They definitely had way better foliage than the other ones did. And the foliage was allowed to die right back. And then they've been stored in the shed ever since. But yeah, that's, I mean, you can see how dry the compost is. And I'll use this for mulching the beds now. But yeah, there we go. Pretty good. So that's Orla. Now, although these 2 buckets aren't labelled, I will be able to tell which are which, because one will be Casablanca, which is a white potato, and one will be Red Duke of York, which is a red potato. So let's have a look. All white potatoes. Okay. Okay, not quite so big, but still much more impressive than the ones that I did on the plot. Much more. Oh, there's another one. Again, some of these, yeah, are a bit soft. I think that they've been stored just a little bit too long, or they got too cold and wet. There's the seed potato. Oh, there's a very squidgy one. Won't throw that, Dory, because you'll eat it. Okay, so last one will be the Red Duke of York. And this is the one that did best on the plot. So let's see. Oh, and that's very firm. That one's a bit squishy. That one's okay. Okay. Oh, I think maybe Orla is going to be the best. Oh gosh, there's not a lot in here at all. There's one more. Again, squidgy. Wow, that was surprising. I thought that one was going to do best, but nope. So I'm super pleased about those. That was well worth the experiment for that fun. It's a shame some of them were soft, but yeah. Let me know in the comments if you still got jobs that you want to get done and if I've inspired you to get on with it. So, right, spring, Dory, just around the corner.